Now, you were in good stead if he called you back. But if he didn't call you back, you know what that meant. So anyway, it was Esther's time. Well, she listened to Haggai because remember, she found favor and she basically went as she was. And so when the king saw her, he was so impressed with her, he fell in love with her. And he made her the new queen. Now, while Esther's participating in this big pageant, with all this pomp and circumstance, her cousin Mordecai was conducting business at the king's gate. Now, the king's gate, let's think of it as really the center of town. And so that's where you would find the businesses, the legal offices, and given the fact that he was conducting business, he had to have been a little prosperous. He had been one of those Jews who had kind of made his way there. So he had a little authority. But while he's sitting there conducting business and trying to think, what do the young folks call it, ear hogging, he was ear hogging. And we say eavesdropping. And so what happened was he heard in the distance these two men talking. Now, they are the guards. And they were talking about the king's guard. Now, get that now. They're the king's guards. And they are he's hearing them talk about how they're really not feeling him anymore. And they plan to assassinate him. Okay? Now, Mordecai sends word to Esther and says, these two men plan to kill the king. You need to handle this. So she lets the king know that his two trusted guards are planning to kill him. And she lets him know that Mordecai has told her this, has sent the word. And so they investigate. Well, sure enough, they find out those two men were planning to kill the king. Well, you know what happened to them. They were hung, and that was the end of them. And of course, the king, like most of us nowadays, he had that written down in his logbook or his journal because we can't remember everything. So he had it written down. And again, think about it. He's the king. He likes to know that he's had big conquests. So he had it written down. Well, we go on, and later the king decides that he's going to promote one of his officials. And he promotes Haman, the Agagite, to prime minister. Now, prime minister would give him the highest rank in the Persian Empire. That's a big deal. And so Haman was a little sly. And so that meant that everybody would have to bow down to him, and they're paying homage to him. He's the big man on campus. Well, everybody did that except for Mordecai. Now, Mordecai, he was hip to Haman. Some say that Haman was a descendant of the Amalite king and Agag. And so, there was hard, they didn't really like each other. So he was not going to be bowing down to this group.